Welcome to Project Comedy, a podcast by and for military veterans doing stand-up comedy, turning military banter into quality stand-up comedy acts. We might be veterans, but our comedy aims to get everybody laughing. Go to any open mic night and you'll see comedians of varying abilities. And as an open mic comic myself, I can tell you there are more open mic wannabes than there are available slots. So, in an already flooded market, is there space for a load of veterans that think they're funny? Indeed, can veterans be funny? Are they going to be too offensive given their love of military banter? And will they alienate a bunch of civvies? I'm Jay Saunders, a boat just gypsy with Wi-Fi so poor, even Aldi doesn't want its name attached to it. And I'm joined by my fellow Project Comedy ambassadors, Gabriel Murphy, a professional Irishman that likes payment in potatoes and Guinness, and Jamie Johnson, a former live-action role player that gave it up when he realised having a real personality is preferable in human society. But far more importantly, we're joined by our great friend, mentor, tutor, occasional lover and professional stand-up comedian, the one, the only, Mr Jay Sodagar. Welcome, Jay.
Oh, welcome. Thank you very much, Jay. This is good, Jay. How are you, Jay?
Jay, this is going to get so confusing as it goes through.
You could do it military-esque, Sodagar and Saunders.
This is it.
You had to find the instant solution because I was hoping you'd ask a question and I get to answer it like the expert. But if we get confused, we'll use surnames. Jay, the guys and I clearly know you, but for those that don't know the story, can you tell us a little bit about what your comedy career is?
Yes. Well, I've been doing stand-up comedy now for 25 years. I've been doing it 25 years. Man and boy, I had black hair when I first started, and now I don't. I had hair now, and now I have nothing. Now I just have dreams of hair. That's all I have.
Big memories.
Big memories, flashbacks, if you will, flashbacks, windy days, things like that. But no, I've been doing this for a very long time. Actually, this is weird things. I actually didn't start off doing any kind of drama or anything like that. In fact, I was an accountant, and I was very bored of my job, and I hated it completely. I was kind of very disillusioned with what I wanted to do with my life. So I kind of just went out with a mate of mine to all sorts of different things. We went to opera and ballet and all this kind of stuff. And I'd never been to a comedy club before, never been to them. So we went in, and to let you know how long ago this was, all right, I got into the Comedy Store, right, on a Thursday night for £4, all right?
Holy crap.
Nowadays, that same ticket is 17, 18 quid. That is pure inflation between then and now. That's how long ago. And in case there are any millennials listening to this, yes, the world was not in black and white way back then either. But yes, we went to the Comedy Store and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The fact that complete strangers got up, started making people laugh, and I was like, this is addictive. And then a few years later, I got a bit curious and dabbled my toe into stand-up comedy. I did a comedy course, not like my one, but I did a comedy course, did a graduation show, and it's an addiction. Anyone who's ever held court with a room full of people and made them all laugh knows how addictive it can be. Imagine that in front of a complete room full of strangers, and it's an amazing job. I still get the same high now as I always have done.
And you mentioned there that you actually teach. How long have you been teaching for, and what is it you actually teach?
I've been teaching now for 15 years. 15 years I've been teaching, and what I teach is really about how to make love to an audience. No, I'm joking.
Holy crap! So all of your performances are only available on Pornhub.
Yes, I am that guy. But no, I've been teaching stand-up.
The niche kink.
I mean, do anything with a microphone. That's how it works. This is it.
Hey, if yours are on Pornhub, mine are on Exxon stuff.
I've got 2 subscribers. I've got 2 subscribers. That's all I'm saying. Both of them are me. But No, I've been teaching for 15 years, and I've taught all sorts of people. And when I got into teaching, because I did 4 different comedy courses when I first started, and in hindsight, now being a professional comic and looking back at them, they were completely useless. So I sat there and I thought, if I'm going to teach a comedy course, I want to teach people exactly what we do as comedians, and break everything down into first principles, and then teach people that. And originally, I thought this wasn't going to work. I thought no one's going to get what we do, because we're a bit geeky with that kind of stuff. And I thought no one's going to get it. But 15 years down the line, I've taught anywhere between 6,000 and 7,000 people in my time, and they've all kind of, well, apart from you, Jay. Everyone else has got it, but apart from you, still need to.
Well, it took me 3 times a beginner's course, didn't it? I mean, I did 3 separate beginner's courses to actually know anything.
No, it's amazing to kind of watch everyone gigging and so on and so forth. Like I was with you guys on Sunday, it was amazing.
That was brilliant fun.
Yes. So everyone, even from Gabriel doing his first live gig, to Jamie doing his second, but first proper live gig, with a room full of people who were actually staring at him. I watched the videos. I mean, I was there as well, don't get me wrong.
It was like you were there in person.
But I watched the videos back again just to remind me, and I was like, wow, gosh, you wrote all of it. All of you wrote it. I didn't write a single word of it. You put it all together. You just put everything I've taught you into practice, and that's what you achieved. Wow, that's phenomenal.
Was there a little moment of pride that's like, they're one of mine?
Yep, that's it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have breastfed you all or anything like that. I wouldn't have held you to my
that's
bones
just disappointing now.
I mean, that's on my Pornhub channel. I remember I've got 2 subscribers. I'm getting up to 4. This is it. Prince Andrew might be one of them, I don't know.
Why's your breast so low down your body?
That's just the age. You don't get milk nowadays. It's just cottage cheese. That's basic.
Oh Lord!
Have we gone dark too quickly? I've been hanging around with Gabriel way too much.
We've got Gabe in the room. Nothing goes down too quickly with Gabe in the room.
When we're talking about when we're in the gutter, we know it. Gabe's always at periscope depth and ready to crash dive at any moment. What would you say to people, because they make this accusation that you can't be taught to be funny? You can't be taught to be a comedian. You're either funny or you're not.
Yeah, it's complete nonsense. Comedians who are naturally funny, all it is they've just learned this kind of discipline that I teach since they were children, and it's so hard coded into their brain that they can't break it down anymore. So they kind of just say, I just do what I do. But comedians, everybody has a sense of humor, absolutely everybody. And it's down to actually understanding comedy in first principles and putting it all together. And then suddenly your sense of humor can now translate into being a comedian, actually playing to audiences. And it's a learned skill. So if you're not a natural talent that's kind of picked up this discipline by accident since you're a child, you can learn this even from now on in. You can learn it. The kind of best way how I can break this down is, sometimes you get like a photographer who's like, they're just natural with a camera. They just click, bang, they take the perfect picture. Mm-hmm. What it is that person looks at an image through the lens in a very different way how anybody else would. And they press click, bang, they've got it. But what it is they understand how a bit of a camera works and how to focus and all this kind of stuff, framing, bang, click. Now, there are courses nowadays that teach you exactly that, looking at foregrounds and backgrounds and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it may take you a little bit more time to practice it, but you'll get the same skills as, say, someone who's just a natural picture taker. It's the same with comedy. You can learn all of this stuff. And I've taught all sorts of people. Gosh, I've taught people with huge amounts of kind of mental health issues like anxiety and depression and PTSD and so on and so forth. And I've taught people who are kind of a bit alpha. They kind of think they know it all and so on and so forth. And then suddenly reteach them everything on how to look at the world. And then suddenly it's like, oh, I thought you just got up on stage and just talked and that was it. I didn't know that there was all this editing and reading rooms and understanding about performance and so on and so forth. I love teaching. I love making everyone on the same page as me, as it were.
I like one of the comments you got from one of your students, because it really resonated with me, that in the courses, so, you know, a couple of us done 2-year courses. Jamie's just about to start his intermediate with you.
Yeah.
But I think it was one of your students said, you don't teach people how to be funny, you teach people how to be comedians. Yeah. And that really, because when I've done the training with you, there was never a point of that's funny and here's why it's funny. It's either funny or it's not. And we focus on the funny.
Yes. I think, to be perfectly honest, I think that's the missing link. Because the courses I did when I first started, they all taught me rules of comedy. And I say rules of comedy in air quotes, as it were.
Yeah.
There are no rules. It's just a load of bullshit that people have just come up with that sells books more than anything. But these kind of rules, they kind of only explain a very, 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 very tiny minority of any jokes. Like, I was taught 7 different types of jokes. So basically, out of all comedy in the world, I know how to do 7 of those. That's it. And I think this whole structure of people trying to teach people what funny is isn't actually the answer to how do you be funny, which is the question that most people come in. So I teach people, what do comedians actually do? And I think that's the missing link. I think that's the thing that, like, I've got this idea in my head, and the question that most people ask is it funny? The question should be, how do I make it funny? And then as soon as you learn what we do, bam, out of the 6,000 or 7,000 people I've taught, I have not written one word of any one script, not one word. All I have done is shown them what we do and how we look at it. It's like a mechanic showing you how to change an engine or how to fix a tire or how to do all those things. If you've never done it before and suddenly, oh, okay, you undo this nut and then you pull it off and then you put it back on again. Oh, there, I've changed the tire. And that's exactly what I do. And there's been so many kind of beautiful success stories, watching people go off to do Netflix specials and just going out.
Go on. You've got a name drop. You've got to name drop. So
I'll name drop. Daniel Sloss is one of them. There's been quite a few. There's been a few other sort of comics who've gone on to like get onto BAFTAs and get onto sort of award winners and so on. The Lost Voice guy who won Britain's Got Talent a couple of years ago. He was the toughest student. How do you teach someone to do stand-up comedy if they can't speak? How on earth do I do that? But he does nothing different to what I've taught him, you know, with all the kind of performances and attitudes and connection and everything. No, it's been amazing. It's been a thorough ride. I'm not bitter, but I wouldn't mind a Christmas card or something, you know. I mean, anything. Throw in a wheelchair. I don't mind. It's just the way. And they're not even subscribed to my porn channel, for crying out loud. Remember, there's only 2 of them on there.
we all met because of Project Comedy, and that's so the offshoot from Project Recce. Which started during the second UK COVID lockdown. Now, that was exclusively training it to veterans. What was it like training classes that was just 100% veterans with their veterans banter?
I was shitting myself. I genuinely, and I'm on Zoom when I'm teaching these things, and I was still shitting myself. I was like, because I've done Squaddies gigs before. I've done Squaddies gigs before, and they can be quite leery, a bit rowdy, and a bit drunk, and everyone's all confident, and so on and so forth. And when we kind of did the meeting with Project Recce and Loz and Neil, and they said, oh yeah, I mean, you know, these people, these guys, they're coming back out of the army and they need reintegrating into that, and they just need some confidence. And I was like, confidence? Wow. I've done Squaddies gigs. What kind of confidence am I going to teach some 25-year-old failed accountant? How am I going to teach this? So But I think the one thing that I did suddenly realize very, very quickly is you guys do have a brilliant sense of humor, because like you've all experienced all sorts of things in your jobs, and you deal with it with humor. And I'm a comedian, and my job is to be funny. And I think that was the connection point I had with all the first lot of students I had, and the fact that as much as they would crack a joke with me, I'd crack a joke with them, and I'd be cheeky and I'd play around with them, and they'll play around with me. And I found like we were all on equal levels kind of thing. And I'd make jokes out of everything that was kind of going on. And I suddenly realized, it's like, these people, they're not the squaddy gig where they're absolutely drunk and they're about to and it could kick off at any moment. This is exactly how it should be. Everyone was
that's only because we were doing it via Zoom. If we had been in a corner of a pub learning the course with you, it would have been hellish.
I only learned naked bar when I did.
I was just going to say that would be my absolute worst nightmare. Getting up to do a set and somebody shouting naked bar, like shit.
One of the funniest stories I've got about naked bar though. We just had this lad come in from trade training. So when we were getting we had some sort of a validation test or something like that, about through the whole unit, we were all getting graded, right? And we done really, really, really well. So we were celebrating. And this lad had only been with us for like 4 days or something like that. So we're all there in the restroom, like, getting drunk. And he's like, "Oh, I need to go to the toilet." So I was like, "Yeah, down there." Off you go. As soon as he leaves, someone goes, "Naked bars." We're all like, so this guy goes to the toilet and comes back, and he's just like, "What the fuck?" He just walks into a room full of naked fellas. Yeah, just come in and get your clothes off your back. Don't worry about it.
That's a porn channel. That's a porn channel.
It's fucking terrifying.
The best one I've seen is I was officer of the day at HMS Nelson, and there's a bar at the very top called the Blind Eye. It's basically, there's no rules in this bar. It is Nelson's Blind Eye. And we had some visiting Royal Marines staying for a few days. And this young second lieutenant was desperately trying to impress his lieutenant colonel about how hard he was and how much of a Royal Marine he was. So they've just, they're sat down, they're drinking the beer, and they went, "Oh, come on, sir, naked bar." So instantly, all their clothes come off, and they throw them out the window of the mess, out the front. Time for him to go and get the next drinks. He walks up to the bar, butt naked, and I've never seen a civilian barman handle it so well. So he's ordering the drinks, and went, "Certainly, sir. But considering you're not a mess member and don't have a mess number, how would he be paying for it?" And then all of these guys suddenly go, "Our clothes are on the front road on Queen Street in Portsmouth." So they had to run out of the mess, get their wallets from out the front of the mess to come back in and pay for their beer.
See, proper, how you do it is you fold all your clothes up and put them in the corner of the bar.
They were just
naked bar etiquette.
They were just trying to be manly Royal Marines, but it just backfired on them.
The Air Force would just get the connoisseurs to do it for them.
I say, "Stuart, would you mind folding my clothes? I fancy naked bar at the moment, and do bring me a G&T when you're finished."
Someone put the heating on.
Well, that's the advantage of naked bar for the Royal Air Force. They're in a 5-star hotel anyway, so they're going to be warm when they're doing naked bar.
Right now, there are listeners who are serving right now, going, "He called it. Fuck it, we're doing
it." There's people who are leaving or going to the resettlement offices. Like, "What's this? I've heard there's no naked bar in City Street."
Oh God! Please don't ever play this podcast in an Armed Forces Careers office, because nobody's going to bloody join.
There's a load of 16 and 17-year-olds like, "Jesus, is that a real thing?" Yes, it is.
They mentioned that at the recruitment office.
I don't know if it is now.
God, if they mentioned that at the recruitment office, they'd be like, I think I might go into accountancy now. I
I think it should be the new recruiting advert. Just excerpts from this podcast. This is the reality of military life.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine the advert straight away. Really, like, right, you're in a bar. Someone's called Naked Bar. Everyone's taking off their clothes. What are you gonna do?
Everyone's being really freaked out about it, apart from that one weird kid's like, yeah, I'm still in.
Take off my sunglasses. That's what I'm gonna do.
when you train to
Look him dead in the eye. Which one?
Now that's another porn channel. I'm going to write that down. That's another porn channel. I might Pornhub subscription. Yeah.
But you train multiple courses of us. Is there any difference? Yeah, are veterans easier or harder to train into comedy, or is there no real difference?
No, there's no real difference at all. The only thing I would say is that sort of like from the courses that I did with you guys, yes, there's a lot of dark comedy that comes out, and I think one of the biggest worries that a lot of people have is they think, is this too dark for people? And you know what? I've been gigging for 25 years. I've seen some real dark material come out from normal comedians, not necessarily ex-veterans or anything like that. So as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the live circuit, there's not that much of a level of censorship. There's boundaries in terms of connection with an audience. But apart from that, you can literally talk about anything you want to. And in many respects, you know, the experiences that you have is far more than what any kind of civvy person would ever have. And it's a whole new view of the world, as it were. So you know, it's not been that much, it's not been that different at all. The only thing I think people are worried about is like, is this far too dark? No, not at all. Right? It may not be for TV, film, and radio, guaranteed.
Yeah. There is a reason this podcast has explicit content ticked against it. I mean, it's certainly.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to watch Gabriel host Family Fortunes, but
no. I want him to be a continuity announcer on CBeebies.
I think you just see how restrained, the physical restraints I'm having to do. Just
Gabe doing a Saturday morning children's show, and he's just hosting it along, holding it in, and then a ginger kid comes up, whack! That one's getting one round the ear.
Roundhouse.
Might even take a bit of a run up. Who knows?
Nah, don't do that anymore. It's a young man's game, that running.
Yeah, you mentioned it before, but of course we all actually ended up doing the Salford gig together at the end of one of your graduation gigs, and mixed in with other comedians, which was brilliant fun. But when you look at sort of like what we put together for that act compared to where we were when we started during lockdown 2, were there any sort of like standout moments, or was there anything there that just made you go, yeah, we've got something, or they've learned?
Yeah, no. I mean, I remember when all of you did your first kind of Zoom gig, right? And then you guys also did the intermediate course as well, and certainly for Jay Saunders and Gabriel, you did the intermediate course. And the one thing I can say is like all the stuff that I teach in the intermediate course builds on everything from a beginner's level and shoves it right up. And what you guys did there is like, from an audience's perspective, if they sat there expecting an open mic comedy night, right, their natural assumptions, as indeed most people's would be, is everyone's going to be a bit nervous, and you know, they're going to screw up their jokes. They might have one joke. They might have just one joke. And then a lot of audiences almost like find it difficult. They kind of go, we're going to have to do pity laughs or whatever it is. And it's like, this is going to be terrible and this and all that. I love defying expectations. I love teaching people exactly what we do, but you have to put the work in. And as soon as you put the work in, that audience walk out of that and go, that was nowhere near an open mic night. That was like a pro night. That was like everyone absolutely smashed it. And watch the videos. You got all three of you got like rounds of applause in your set. I mean, people don't do that at open mic nights. All right, and you got this right.
Oh, I know about that. I know about that. There is no applause when you're standing in the corner of a pub performing to 6 people.
But the thing is that audience, but that audience loved it. That audience absolutely loved it. And to kind of watch this, I guarantee you, chat to any of them, and they'll sit there and go, "That did not look like an open mic night at all in any way, shape, or form." They were laughing solidly right throughout. And for me, what I saw from when you first started gigging to now, it was like, yep, you've done everything you're supposed to do, and now you're getting the rewards of what we do as comedians. That audience there is thoroughly enjoying themselves, and that's your job as a comic, as well as you've written all this stuff and put it together into setups and punchlines and just did it on stage, and that's it. That is what a comedian does. I
enjoyed a gig I did fairly recently over in a place called Copner, and there was one of your students. He had just done his beginner's course, and we were having a chat, and we were just connecting. You know, he was civvy, me military, been on the circuit for a little bit, and we were chatting about punchline rates. And I went, oh God, when you do the intermediate rate, you go from eight punchlines a minute up to about 15 and beyond. And the 2 comedians sat opposite us in our little corner green room went, looked at each other, felt shame, went, actually, I don't think I'd want to do that many punchlines in a minute because it might scare the audience. And they were desperately there going, no, I can't do that. But they had to find an excuse of why they didn't want to get their punchline rate up to that level.
Does it scare the audience? Did one of them say it would genuinely scare the audience?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, I am laughing so much at this comedy stuff. I am fucking petrified now. What the fuck is that? That's the most bullshit excuse ever.
People react with fear in different ways, don't they?
Like, oh yeah, I went to my dentist, but then when he started cleaning my teeth, fuck me, terrified.
You're only here to drill them. Don't you dare clean them.
I want to see do like these audience members who are getting like laughing so much. So how scared do they get? Do they?
Like all of a sudden, one of them starts having this crisis, like, "Oh shit, I'm never going to stop laughing. Like, this is me now. I'm just laughing until I die."
From here on in, I'm only going to stand-up comedy nights with my own professional psychiatrist with me because I won't cope anymore.
What that really explains to me is there are a lot of people who do not know how stand-up works. They don't know how it works, and I get it, because when you watch a really good comedian, they make it look effortless to a point that a lot of people don't associate much skill to a stand-up. So when you get people who go, oh, I should do stand-up comedy because I can talk for 5 minutes, that's not the same as stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is about how funny you can be in 5 minutes. And what's happened, what that story is, that's indicative of like quite a lot of people who think they know what stand-up is, and they're quite privileged, and they sit there and they think, oh no, I know what stand-up comedy is because I have watched 10 minutes of a Bill Hicks DVD 10 years ago. I know everything there is to know about comedy. And they've turned up and they've basically told this big, long, waffly story, don't know how it works. They don't get a laugh on what they thought was a punchline, and then blame the audience by, well, clearly they don't understand me. I'm far better than this. That is not how this works. When you watch all these comics like your Jimmy Carrs and your Michael McIntyres and your Frankie Boyles and all these people, they've slogged their guts out through the circuit. They know how to make it work. And they do something, what I've taught you in terms of connecting with audiences, they do all of these techniques, and they're the ones who make it look effortless on stage. These people watch it and go, he's talking, I can talk, it's exactly the same thing. And it's not at all.
It's not a conversation, is it? So many people think it's a conversation. It is. You're telling a story maybe sometimes, but it's not a conversation you have.
Yes, bless them. I can't teach everybody.
Go on, it's time to blow a bit of smoke up your bum then, Jay. I'll ask Gabe and Jamie this. So yeah, we did the gig. What was it like having Mr Jay Sodagar as our MC for the evening?
Cheers. It was really great. It was the comforting thing, like, because obviously we've had so many interactions with you, and then, like, you know, to actually see you in person as well, it was nice.
No, cool. I mean, that does tell you something, that I must be good at what I do. That even Gabe went, yeah, he's all right.
Hey, I'm not one for giving out compliments, all right. You know, I've been looking after the little ginger one for a while now.
You become slightly desensitized.
I said, you know, I gave her a compliment the other day. You know, I've only got so many compliments in me.
I get it.
Burn your quota up too soon.
I get it.
Exactly.
It's already the start of April. It's already the start of April. He's only got 2 compliments he can give a month. This is it. And this is his second one. So that's it. It's all gone downhill from now. Fuck it. I'm that much above naked bar.
And the first compliment he gave was on April Fool's Day.
Everyone thought I was taking a piss, which is annoying.
Oh, bless. No, thank you.
Yeah. For me, it was nice to come on stage with a warmed up, G'd up audience that wanted to have a laugh.
Yeah. Well, compared to your first gig, mate,
Your previous experience.
Compared to my first gig, I'd have to have a necrophiliac warm the audience up.
I can't do that. I'm not warming up for you, pal. Sorry.
I'm gonna ask a boring question now. I'm gonna ask a really boring question now, because Project Recce is about getting veterans into employment in the construction industry. This was a side project during the lockdowns, but can you think of any transferable skills that you get from stand-up comedy that would, you know, to those guys that are still they're leaving the service, they need to get a job? Do I really need another hobby? Is there anything transferable you can get from stand-up comedy that would aid you getting a career or getting a new job or what have you?
No, totally. What you kind of learn is what a comedian does. That's what I teach you. So what you kind of watch when you watch comedians, they get on stage and they're able to hold court with a room full of people. They're able to connect with a room full of people straight off. And the skills that you kind of learn are very transferable if you have to address a group of people you've never met before, like a job interview, or if you're doing a presentation, or if you're leading a team or whatever it is. You can speak to a room full of people and get to the point as quickly as possible so everyone gets it. And on top of that, have a sense of humor that makes you look a lot more in control and be relaxed in an environment that could be quite high pressure. I mean, you know, in terms of transferable skills, you know, a lot of employers would look for somebody who seems to be in control of what they're doing and can communicate very clearly, and get straight to the point very, very quickly. And essentially that's the kind of nub of what a comedian does when they're on stage. They get to the point very quickly. They can speak to rooms full of people, complete strangers they've never met before, and set them at ease and kind of lead. Even in terms of leadership, you know, to be able to kind of hold court and be able to direct exactly where you need to go and use your knowledge to be able to communicate it is a phenomenal transferable skill.
I've said it on the Recce courses when they all get together, when I'm doing the plugs for Project Comedy, and I've said, look, you guys are talking about how panicked you are about writing your CVs, and you're panicked about what you're going to be like in an interview. If you can edit a script, you can edit your CV. You're just going to bring it down to what are the essentials. But if you can do a 5-minute stand-up comedy routine to a cold audience, how easy would it be to walk into a job interview and talk about yourself there? That's the instant thing that can come across.
Absolutely, and that's connection. That's learning about connection, and then that works in every aspect of life, every aspect, whether it be relationships, whether it be jobs, whatever, making friends, whatever.
In a bar, naked.
I was thinking, should I mention Naked Bar again? But no, Gabe was there. He was right there waiting for it.
Oh, please, Gabe, please tell me the first interview you went to, you suddenly called out Naked Interview. And then...
I remember the first interview I did when I left the army. It was for the Northwest Ambulance Service. And every question they were saying to us, like, oh, are you okay working long hours? And every single question I answered was, well, when I was in the army, it was just like constantly the same setup thing for it and everything like that. And he said, so the interview's over. Have you got any questions for us? And I was like, yeah, it's the first interview I've ever done. Have I got the job? It was not. I can't tell you just yet. We've got to go away. But yeah, so it'd have been nice to have known all this shit about like connection and talking and setting up stuff back then. I still got the job, like. But,
Yeah, there you go.
And with that success story of talking about transferable skills, I guess that's a perfect point to let people know how they could join Project Comedy. Just listen in for the next couple of minutes, and here's how you can join us crazy bunch of lunatics. Are you a veteran, or even still serving, and think you'd like to give stand-up comedy a go? Then why not join us in Project Comedy? Visit the Project Recce website, that's projectrecce.org, then click on how it works. You'll find a Register Here button in the Project Comedy section. Fill that in, and the HQ staff will soon get you connected with the Project Comedy community and its weird and wonderful ambassadors. You'll be invited to our green rooms, where if you want it, we can train you in the basics. If not, you can just come along and have a laugh with us and see what we're up to and what it gives us. So let's be honest here. You're going to get some training, but just because you've been trained to be a stand-up comic, you're not going to get paid to do your first gig and paid to make people laugh. Jay, could you tell us how the stand-up circuit works?
Yeah, I mean, basically you go up in 5-minute increments. So you start off doing 5-minute sets, then you get to 10-minute sets, then 15-minute sets, and then 20-minute sets. To kind of give you an idea of how the pay scale works, 5 minutes, don't get paid anything. 10 minutes, you get paid nothing. 15 minutes is when you get paid, and 20 minutes you'll always get paid. So the kind of decision for you to go from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes to 20 is not yours, it's actually the club's.
Yeah.
The way how the clubs look at it is, okay, right, are you able to make my audience laugh? From the amount of times I've seen you here, are you able to make my audience laugh for 20 solid minutes without any kind of dips or breaks? And you're not going to fall apart on stage. You can handle every situation that can kick off in a venue like this and be able to make them laugh for this audience to walk out and go, that was amazing. That is why 15 and 20-minute acts get paid. When you're starting out and you're doing 5s and 10s, what you're really doing, if you want to make a living out of it, is to build up a solid 20-minute set of material. So you keep writing, you keep working, you keep doing all these things. And, on average, I would say that it would take anywhere between 2 to 3 years of doing, 1 or 2 gigs a week before you actually start seeing some money out of it. So it's not a quick win. It's a slog. But it's a meritocracy. You get paid depending upon how good you are. And how good you are is really how quickly you get to grips with the discipline of stand-up and being able to play all sorts of different audiences and all sorts of different rooms and have a solid set right the way through. And it's the best kind of justice. This isn't some old school boy network thing. That's all kind of a bit TV, film, and radio. But like live stand-up, it's purely down to whether you make an audience laugh. If you make an audience laugh solidly, consistently, every single time you get up on stage, and you build up a solid 20-minute set of material, or 30 minutes or whatever, that is what counts. It's a business, it's show business. The clubs make money on booking comedians that make audiences laugh. The ones that they work hard to get into their clubs and theatres and art centres and all this kind of stuff. That's what they're kind of looking at. And it's a slog, but from everything that I kind of teach, it tends to kind of shortcut at least a year out of a lot of people's progression, because you start off learning exactly what we're doing as professionals, and that's from gig one. If you'd never done this as a process and you didn't know what stand-up was, yeah, you could be 2, 3, even 4, even 5 years. And even that, you could learn bad habits and jump out and quit comedy.
I was going to say that because it's like the training you've given us has given us an amazing shortcut. Because I remember the first gig I did. I mean, I was terrified anyway, because, number one, it's my first ever gig. Secondly, because I've got my PTSD, and I was lucky enough to have a really dear friend of mine come along to be my emotional support for it. I had a chat with the guy that booked me, put me in the middle of the program. That was brilliant for me. That helped me out. When I came off and we went to a break, I had all the other comedians coming up to me going, "What do you mean that was your first gig? How the hell have you got that good that quickly?" And then the bit that really staggered me was I only ever did 2 5-minute gigs. I was instantly invited to start moving to the 10-minute circuit around this area. So like, well, you clearly got enough material to do it. So do you want to come and do this 10? So I almost feel like I've shortened my career in comedy by at least a year, because there's plenty of guys I know that are only just making the 10-minute circuit, and they've been on the circuit for a couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, again, look, it's down to what I teach and what you've understood from it, and then put it together, and then you've written all your material. You're the one who applies all of these techniques to it, and you keep writing, and then off you go. I mean, again, look, go back to your man's who said, "I wouldn't want to have that punchline rate. That would scare the audience."
Yeah.
I don't think the audience will be scared of your punchline rate. I think the audience might be scared of you. Not
but I'm so lovely and cuddly.
But it's because they don't know how it works. And there's a lot. I get it. I mean, stand up on its own looks completely unfathomable. Like, people would question, like how can a complete stranger walk on stage to a room full of strangers and make them laugh in seconds, and properly laugh, not pity laugh, not, "Oh, this is a bit jolly," and whatever, properly laugh for a full 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, even an hour or whatever it is.
That was a big one I learned from you, because I thought you had to do a load of backstory to get to the first laugh. And actually, when I started editing my sets, that it is possible to get them laughing within 10 seconds of you being on the stage. And I've got that joy of having Hawk with me. I can use Hawk to get that first laugh for me. And that thing of, he's funnier than me. You've seen that. That's what,
you're the straight man.
Here's one though that Jamie and I have encountered and what have you. The open mic circuit is interesting. I mean, it can be ruthless. Some of the bookers, they're not exactly brilliant, and you can do some gigs in some, well, let's just describe it as entertaining venues, not necessarily brilliant places to do stand-up comedy. For somebody starting out in stand-up, what tips would you give them about what kind of open mic circuit gigs they want to be trying out with?
Yeah, cool. Number one, get better Wi-Fi than Jason.
Did I break up again?
It's low tide.
You know, sometimes when you see someone stutter, you do want to finish their sentences for them. You're like, "Open mics, is it, Jay?" There you go. But no, the best advice that I'd give, look, there are some dodgily run gigs. There are people who've been to somewhere like, say, like the Comedy Store and sat there and gone, "Oh, look, this, this is a purposely built comedy club with a stage and spotlights and a microphone and a big sound system and a DJ and everything. Wow, my function room on the side of a pub is exactly the same as this." And I'll tell you what, I'll keep the doors open so that people can just wander to the bar and wander back. And I'll tell you what, I'll make it free of charge. And I'll tell you what, and some people didn't want to watch the comedy, I'll put the jukebox on in the corner while the acts are playing. That'll give them a choice, won't it?
I've had that.
Yes. There are some
Flashbacks.
there are some really badly run gigs. Really, really badly run gigs. I did this was quite a few years ago. It's about a couple of decades ago now. I did a gig in, I think, it was in Manchester, and it was called The Devil's Anus, right?
It's already sounding good.
This is exactly how they thought comedy would work, right? It's a big club, 2 floors, and the bar area is in the middle, which is the anus, basically, right? And I figured, let's put the comedy in the anus, right? And as people are coming from one dance floor to go into another dance floor, they can listen to a bit of comedy while they're doing it, right? And what? How is this going to work? And when he phoned me up and said, right, well, that's the gig, and I was like, that is not going to work. I am never ever. That's a ridiculous notion of a gig. How much does it pay? 400 quid. All right, I'll turn up. All right, that's it.
Yeah, okay, I'll put up with it.
Yeah, 400 quid, 20 minutes of that game. And it was terrible. It was just absolutely terrible. Everything that you could have foreseen that would go wrong went wrong. And you're going to get these sorts of gigs. But when you first start out, go and do some research. Go and turn up to open mic comedy nights. And the ones that you can sit there and kind of go, actually, people are here to have a good time. Approach those ones first. And then no doubt you'll get these dodgily run gigs. But in some respects, you don't want that dodgily run gig to be your first one. After you've done a few and you kind of go, you can take a bit of a challenge and go, all right, how do I make this room full of people laugh who have got the jukebox and the TV?
Jamie, you look so enlightened right now.
I should probably cover that in the beginner's course. Jamie's sitting there going, I wish someone told me that before.
I'd have rather played in The Devil's Anus than that.
You are not playing in my anus. Final
I'm
time.
surprised you weren't running it, Gabe.
Oh, Gabe, you do realise you've just written next week's intro for yourself. When I'm introducing all the ambassadors, Gabriel, Devil's Anus Murphy.
Man who admits to being the devil's anus.
That's something I should point out, because people that listen to the last episode are probably expecting us 3 to do our 1-minute sets that were assigned for us. But because of the date of the record, we've not had chance to actually get that together. But we were assigned our 1 minute by Dan Wright. Dan Wright's not with us tonight. So, Mr. Sodagar, would you be kind enough to set a 1-minute challenge for Mr. Wright for us?
Yes.
So we can just drop him in it, because he's going to be joining us for the next record. He's not getting away with it. He's got to do a 1-minute set. Okay,
cool. Right. So I'll be honest with you. I never liked Dan.
I resemble that remark.
At least you were in the real RAF.
Could have been worse. Could have been a RAF regiment.
So I've got to set Dan Wright a 1-minute subject, and I never liked him. So let's give him a real tough one. So let's give him Mumsnet.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to break this to him. I can't wait to break this.
Mumsnet, yes.
Have you not heard of Mumsnet, Gabe?
No.
Oh my God. We now know what you're going to be doing for the next 2 weeks.
No, it's not a porno channel.
Has he made the internet for women now?
Oh God, no.
A women's only internet.
Yep, you're not far off.
For fuck's sake.
It's basically like a Facebook for mums.
Yes.
Fuck that.
And I want to see Dan just read one page of this Facebook page. What the fuck is this about? And he has to write 1 minute.
Oh, that's good.
Facebook for mums. Wow.
This is it. This is it.
That's what fucking Facebook is anyway, isn't it? Mums going on telling them about how fucking amazing the kids are when they're actually little gobshites.
Oh, and if Dan's listening, you can't use any of that material that Gabriel was just done. There you go. Done.
There's been me just ranting about fucking things. Just take up all this material. Sorry, Dan.
Go on, Jay. What I want to know, when you go back to when you were an open micer, before you ended up going pro, what do you think was either the most embarrassing thing that happened to you or the biggest mistake you made on the open mic circuit?
Now, on the open mic circuit, I remember, oh God, I remember this. This was a gig in Leicester I did, right? And I was supposed to do 10 minutes, right? And I was on stage and I was doing really, really well. But there was this guy in the front row who was a bit drunk and was heckling me all the time. So I kept putting him down. I was thoroughly in charge. And the guy was like, he was sitting next to this blonde lady, right? And she was giving it some as well. And I was giving it back and so on and so forth. And he was looking like them two were quite friendly, as it were. And the guy was heckling me. He then got up and went to the loo. So I took the piss out of him and everyone was like laughing and everything. I was in full control. But he left his mobile phone on his table just in the front row. And it went off, right? And the blonde lady who was sitting next to him going, go on, answer it, right? So I picked up the phone. I thought, right, fair enough. I have no idea how this is going to go. So I answered it. And there was this really angry woman in the other. Who's this? Who are you? What? Where's my husband? Right? And I was like, who's your husband? Where's John? Where's John? Where is he? I was like, I don't know. Okay. Are you his wife? I thought the blonde lady that was sitting next to him. Yes. Now you clocked it 1 second quicker than I did. All right. After I said that statement, I suddenly went, oh, okay. The blonde lady that was sitting next to him, she goes, what? He's married? Right?
No.
The entire audience started bursting out laughing. Right?
Holy crap.
This poor lady, she was like, what the fucking bastard, the effing. She was kicking off on one. Meanwhile, this lady's still on the phone going, where's John? Where is he? Who are you? All this, right? Meanwhile, everyone's laughing, right? The guy comes back from the loo and he's standing at the back of the room, right? And he doesn't know I've got his phone, right?
Oh, Jesus.
So all he sees is everybody else laughing, thinking that I must have cracked some really funny joke, right? So he starts laughing to get into the mood as he's walking back into the room, right? It's a long room. So he starts to laugh and everybody clocks him laughing and they know that he doesn't know why they're laughing, right? So they laugh even more, right? The blonde lady gets up, walks out, slaps him across the face, proper Will Smith style, right? Straight out of the venue, right? The guy's standing there going, what on earth just happened? Why did she slap me in the face? And then I'm from the stage going, I think your wife just left a message. Right? Chuck the phone into his seat. The guy looked at me as if he was going to lamp me one totally, but the security guards at the venue already sat there and went, we've got this. Stood already, right? And as the guy wanted to go and charge up to the stage, they picked him up and walked him straight out of the venue, right? Meanwhile, the headliner and the compere went outside to actually go and have a look. So they told me to just carry on going, right? And I was like, I've run out of material. That was all I had. I had 10 minutes. I just literally spanked for 10 minutes, right? But the audience are pissing themselves with laughter. So as the audience's laughter starts to die down, right? The first thing I said was, now, if anybody else here is having an affair, switch the fucking phones off, right? And I was like, I felt like a king that day. I was like, I've dealt with this, but the guy even would have punched the lights out of me if I'd gone outside. So the opening act and the compere came back, sort of like walked me to the opening act's car, got me in there, drove off, and apparently the guy was waiting at the end of the road for me. So,
oh my God.
So beat that as a gig.
So you've gone from being my psychotherapist that in your early career you were a marriage guidance counsellor on the stage.
At that point, there was past fucking guidance. Yeah.
Yes, there's nothing I could have said that would have fixed that marriage. I don't. Naked bar, did you? No. I've got a porn channel. Don't think it would have helped. I'll be honest with you.
So Jake, yeah, we're having a laugh with this. Would you recommend veterans get involved with stand-up comedy?
Oh, definitely. Because the experiences that you've kind of gone, civvies don't see it. We don't. We kind of appreciate everything that everyone does, but we don't know what you actually do and the kind of stuff that you actually see and the funny side of stuff that you see on that side. We never see it. We don't understand it, and the experiences that you have of all sorts of things. For example, one of the things that I thoroughly enjoyed on Sunday's gig is when Jay was talking about his PTSD. Like, that's a phenomenal subject to talk about and make it extremely funny, and have people sit there and go, "Wow, that's amazing." The experiences that you kind of go through to say on stage in a funny way, wow, that's phenomenal, and that's a voice that I think you know, if you're a veteran,
I'll just point out to Gabe and Jamie, I paid you a $5 to say that.
I was just about to say, I was wondering why you had a bit of goo coming out the corner of your mouth.
Mate, I am his only other subscriber. I have to pay him via Patreon for all the services.
It's gone up to 3. It's gone up to 3 subscribers now.
Yeah, John's the other one.
Dude's misses now, apparently. But yes, no. But it's, I totally encourage it. A, it's an outlet for people, but B, it's a different voice that people see. And once you harness how comedy works and you're able to use it, it's brilliant. It's phenomenal to watch.
Go on then, plug time. We might as well plug in because we've been trained by you. What sort of training do you offer, Jay, and how could people find out about your courses?
Yes. Well, I structured the course, but I teach via the Laughing Horse, which is a chain of comedy clubs. So if you go to thelaughingHorse.co.uk, and under comedy courses, they'll kind of list, there's a beginners, there's an intermediate, and then there's an advanced course. The beginners course is 2 afternoons. It's in a weekend, it's 2 afternoons. The intermediate is 4 afternoons held over 2 weekends, and sometimes I change the format of that, so it might be 1 night a week for 4 weeks or whatever, but it's 4 sessions. And then the advanced course is another 4 sessions. So in total, that's 10 sessions. And by the end of that 10 sessions, you will know as much as I do about stand-up. The only thing I can't teach you is experience, and that's you gigging. But every part of how the industry works, how we write, how we edit, how we perform, how we understand comic timing, how to perfect comic timing, how to structure longer shows, how to build a persona, how to MC shows, all sorts of things. How to even pull an encore trick, how to actually pull an encore, all these kinds of various things, and how to edit material and polish and so on and so forth. It's all covered in it. It's quite intense. It is quite intense.
Oh, yeah. I remember the intermediate course and the amount of homework you set me.
Yes.
Oh, my God. I haven't forgiven you for that.
I didn't get sent any.
Oh, it was just me then, was it? Just me. Give the boat gypsy all the work because we're going to test his Wi-Fi to destruction.
You and Dan. You and Dan are the only 2 I ever set homework to. That's it.
What about veterans then? Do you think Project Comedy is a nice way for them to get into it?
Oh, like I've been in the green rooms as well, and it's such a laugh. It's such a laugh. Even if you're only just dipping into it just to have a bit of a laugh and chat to some other people, great. If you have a slight interest that you want to give it a bit of a go, you guys have got the kind of help in place and so on and so forth. And even if not, they just want to come in and be an audience member and just kind of watch the chaos that ensues. It's such a good place to sort of hang out.
To reiterate
no
for any
naked
listeners. Well, yeah, you can do naked bars as long as you turn your camera off.
You only want to see me.
Just to explain to any of our listeners that don't know what the green room is, about once a fortnight, the ambassadors get together and invite people into the Zoom room where we're testing out new material, we're explaining the basic skills of what it is to be a stand-up comic. You can come along and learn the very, very minor basics from us. It's nothing like one of Jay's courses, but it's a chance to come out and find out what it's like for real and have a damn good giggle with us. Go on then, Jay. Have you got any gigs coming up that you'd like us to know about?
Yeah, I'm up or down at the Brighton Fringe. I'm there June 2nd to the 5th, and it'll be my birthday as well during that as well.
Hello.
Yes, I'm 23. I've had a hard life.
No, that's your IQ, Jay.
Experience.
No, I'm there June 2nd to 5th. I'm doing an online show that we did during lockdown, which was called the Thursday Show, but we've renamed it to the Early Late Show, which we're doing, which is a chat show. It's a lot of fun. It's me and like two other comics, and we have guests on, and it's a bit like a green room, I guess. We have a lot of fun.
The Thursday show was brilliant, and I think I'm correct in saying all of those shows are still available on YouTube, aren't they?
Yes. So if you kind of type in Laughing Horse Thursday Show, if you type in the Thursday Show, you get all sorts of weird things that have also called themselves the Thursday Show. None of them are porn related, which is very disappointing. But ours slightly is. But if you type in Laughing Horse Thursday Show, it'll come up. And then I'm also doing my show while I'm there as well, June 2nd to June 5th as well. Plus, I'm in during the Edinburgh Fringe as well. So if anyone's free anywhere in those parts of town,
that's got to be amazing to get back to the Fringe after it being practically closed. After I know there was a small Fringe last year. Yeah. But to go back to the Edinburgh Fringe, that must be something you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, I've missed it massively. And to be perfectly honest, and this is a bit of a confession here, in the fact that I've been up to the Fringe 17 times, right, in all my 25 years of doing stand-up. And to be perfectly honest, the last sort of like 2 or 3 years, I think I got a bit complacent about stand-up. I think, I've done these gigs, I've done all these things, I've done, and I'm a bit tired of it now, and a bit like, I just don't want to do it so much anymore and whatever. And then when COVID struck and lockdowns happened, and then the very thing that you do as a living is forcibly taken away from you.
Yeah.
I miss stand-up so much, to a point that over the course of lockdown, I fell in love with stand-up all over again. And I had this writing burst and everything. And now I'm so eager to go back on stage, like so eager. Like every gig I embrace fully. And it's probably, like, to be honest, for me as a performer, it's probably the best part of my career so far. I am totally focused. I'm totally hungry for it. I've written some amazing stuff that I want to put into a show, a proper heartfelt show. And taking it to the Brighton Fringe and taking it to Edinburgh, I just genuinely cannot wait. So if you do want to kind of see someone who's passionate about what they do, passionate about comedy, come watch it. It's a laugh. It's free, by the way. It's free, so it's not even like you have to buy a ticket or anything.
Well, even better.
There you go. But I'm not doing naked bar. If any of you fuckers turn up to my venue,
Gabe, you're banned. You're banned from his gig.
How much can we spread this around Facebook now?
Remember last time I was in Edinburgh, I was on ceremonial duty, I was waiting for the Queen to come and open Holyrood.
Mm.
I was waiting there for about 2 hours, and she never even came up the road I was on. So I was standing there like a bit for 2 hours. Not unlike my first gig.
Brilliant.
I'd like, if you don't mind, guys, there's something like I'd like to do a shout out at the moment. I'd like to read out a few names and shout out to a lot of people that are really very, very important to me. So if I just shout out their names, Steve Rice, Sherry McBain, Chase Mahush, Andy Kerr, Gareth Hennings, Anthony Booth, David Dewa, Rachel Williamson, Nigel the Knocker White, Victoria Ross, Tom O'Brien, Lucy Holt. They are just some names, and none of these names are household names. Hopefully, over the next week, they will become household names, because tomorrow morning, these guys will be traveling out to The Hague in the Netherlands. And they are just one part of Team UK that will be representing the UK at the 2022 Invictus Games. Us guys, we perform on a stage doing stand-up comedy. These guys are standing on an international stage performing in adaptive sports. Everything from the sport that I adore, archery, through to the ultimate violence that is wheelchair rugby, sitting volleyball, adapted cycling. Wait until you see the hand cyclists and the look on their faces when they finish their marathon sprints and what have you. I understand that there's going to be evening updates on the One Show, meeting all of these amazing people. I was very, very fortunate that a lot of the people I've just called out, I did the Warrior Games with them in Colorado Springs back in 2018. Here we are doing stand-up comedy. I use it as amazing therapy, but to see these wounded, injured and sick servicemen and veterans. If you've never heard of the Invictus Games, it's effectively wounded, injured and sick servicemen and veterans Olympic or Paralympic Games. It is the most inspiring thing. So please get yourself behind Team UK whilst they're out in The Hague. They are going to make every last one of us proud. But thanks for indulging me for letting them give a plug. Jay, as always, it's great talking to you. I look forward to seeing you in the green room again soon, I hope.
Yes, no, absolutely.
And I can't wait to, meet up in person once again. And, in the future, you know it, we're going to be inviting you to do another podcast episode.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to.
I can't thank you enough. And also thanks to my fellow ambassadors and co-hosts on this game, and Jamie Johnson. We'll close off as we start, as we normally do. Just a couple of links on how you can follow us, guys.
If you want to see what we're actually like on stage, please have a look at our YouTube channel. Search for Project Comedy, Veterans Doing Stand-Up, and look for our black and white logo that's exactly the same as the one we use for this podcast. You can also now follow us on Twitter. We can be found at Proj Comedy. That's at PROJ Comedy. And me, Jay Saunders, I can be found on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter if you look for Comic Jay Saunders. That's all one word with the letter J in the middle. Comic Jay Saunders. Thanks again to everyone that's taken part in this episode. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Project Comedy Podcast. Please support our veterans as they continue their comedy journeys. To find out more, including gigs our veterans are doing, please search for the Project Comedy group on Facebook, where you'll also find links to Project Recce, the veterans charity that makes Project Comedy possible.